All right, you guys. Well, today I have for you a 2018 Nissan Rogue. Take you around this SUV. This is an SL model and it does have all-wheel drive. We will pop the trunk, show you guys what that looks like. All right, and this is the trunk. You get a pretty good cargo area, actually. You get a little storage area under the floor right here. Get these two cargo mats. They seem to adjust. They can slide into different positions to give you more cargo room. You can also fold the seats down with these little tabs right here. They'll fold down flat. But we'll close the trunk right here. Closes fairly quickly, about average. But show you guys the back seat room. Back seat room is pretty good. You kind of sit a little bit higher up than the front passengers. It's got like a nice high seating position back here. And it's fairly comfortable. Not too bad. These seats, the back of the seats are a little bit like kind of upright, and it's not like a ton of room, but it's doable, it's livable. I could easily sit back here on a long trip and it would be fine. But we'll hop out here. I'll show you guys under the hood real quick. All right, and this is the 4-cylinder engine, 2.5 liter. I'll put the horsepower in the video. Not sure, believe it's like 170, 180, somewhere around there. It is paired to a CVT automatic transmission, but close up the hood there. And we'll hop in, we'll start it up. Over here, you do have your adaptive cruise control, and you can set the following distance right here. You do have your Bluetooth phone controls right here. On the screen, you can control it with these hard buttons right here. Check out your map. This does have navigation. This touchscreen, actually, it responds pretty well. As you can see, really not too bad right there. Seems to respond fairly immediately. You can also look at your camera. You get a nice above view camera, and you also get a backup camera. The resolution could be a little bit better, but not too bad. You do get your climate controls, very simple. Here's your fan speed, your temperature. It is dual zone. You do get a USB, you get a power outlet, and you get an aux port. This is the shifter for the CVT, typical Nissan shifter. You also get a plus and minus for manual mode. You do get heated seats down here to level. You also get a center console. It's a pretty good size, as you can see. And you get another USB and another power outlet in there. And you do get a glove box. It's also fairly big. You have a heated steering wheel, which is pretty nice to have. I'm going to turn that on right now. You do get your all-wheel drive lock. You also have a sport mode, and you have an eco mode in here. Pretty nice, and a foot-mounted parking brake way down there. But we're going to get this thing out on the road, and we're going to talk about how it drives. Okay, and we're moving. So this car isn't the sportiest. Right away you can kind of tell that it doesn't really like quick maneuvers a whole lot. It doesn't respond very well when you try to, like, you know, corner too sharply. You definitely feel some body lean. It's a little bit floaty, definitely not a sports car. The engine doesn't have a whole lot of pickup off the line. Once you cross over like 3,000 RPM, it gets up pretty good. But anywhere before that, it's just not the quickest. It's not the most spry experience. Not the quickest accelerating car. Does decent around the corners. Very average, I would say. The steering in the Rogue is very light steering, probably one of the lightest out of most cars that I've driven. Doesn't have a whole lot of feel or communication. I also do think the steering could be a little bit quicker to respond. You kind of go like this with the wheel and the car doesn't do a whole lot. So it could be a little bit quicker, a little bit sharper, I think. Other cars in this class, like the Mazda CX-5, just offer like a little bit more of a sharper dynamic. Yeah, you have to rev this engine out if you want to go anywhere fast. The engine does drone a little bit too with that CVT. It's not the most pleasant sounding engine. It's kind of angry sounding. But for your average family hauler, daily commuter, this car really isn't bad. I mean, it rides smooth. It's pretty easy to drive. Not a whole lot of thinking involved. The car seems to do what you expect it to do most of the time. It is a little bit wishy-washy, I find. There are times when it just feels like it wants to find its own lane, and it just doesn't feel like totally planted on the road like you might expect from other cars in this class. I just think it could feel a little bit more solid and a little bit more planted. About average in terms of road noise. You do hear some road and tire noise and like the cars passing by. It's not bad though. I mean, it's respectable. Like I said, about average. Not the quietest, but not loud or anything either. The CVT does engage pretty smoothly when you go to hit the gas. In general, this accelerator is pretty responsive. You just kind of tap it, the car moves. Really don't have to, I never feel like, if anything, it's a little bit too responsive. Like sometimes I'm really not hitting it that hard and it sends the revs like up really fast. You get used to it though. I mean, it's a very no effort accelerator, which I kind of like. I like cars that feel a little bit more responsive when you hit the gas, and this car definitely does feel nice and responsive when you go to take off. Brakes, they are a little bit, the pedal is a little bit light, and they don't have the most defined bite to them, but they feel very smooth and assuring. They stop the car pretty fast, and overall the brakes feel fairly normal. Could respond a little bit quicker, but not bad. Give it a little gas here. Gets up and goes when you need it to. You just need to give it more gas. You need to rev it out, definitely. Try out a little handling test right here, see how it does. Not bad, it's doable. Like, the steering doesn't communicate very well through the corner, but the body stays relatively controlled. Do feel a little bit of lean, but it's manageable. It's easy to drive. The CVT actually seems to do a good job of recognizing when I need more power. Like if I'm going up a hill, I don't need to stamp the gas pedal down. The CVT kind of does the work for me, which I like. This car does have a Bose sound system. It sounds really good, actually. Definitely like the sound system in this car. Try getting it on the highway here, see how it does. CVT has kind of those simulated shifts. It's reasonable, not the fastest, but daily drivable. Pretty smooth highway car. I do hear a little bit more wind noise than I normally hear from some other cars that I drive, but it's really not too bad. Fairly smooth on the highway. It's a smooth and comfortable car in general. Yeah, you know, it gets there eventually. You have to be a little bit patient with it, but you know, it definitely does get to highway speeds eventually. Try putting our foot down a little bit. The CVT is decently responsive. I find that this Nissan Rogue does feel a little bit gutless on the highway when you need to make a pass or something. You have to put your foot into it a lot, and you have to rev the engine out a good deal if you want to make a pass, but was kind of expecting that. There are times it feels fairly peppy now. There are times where it feels fairly responsive and decently quick, so I can't say this is like a slow car. But we're gonna try our off-ramp. Those tires are squealing on me, and I'm only going like 30. The body stays pretty controlled. It's really not too bad around the corners, although I wouldn't want to drive it like a sports car. You kind of feel the weight hobbling around if you go a little bit too fast, but overall it's easy to drive, easy to live with. Another weird thing about this car is the steering wheel squeaks if I turn it from lock to lock really fast. Kind of unusual. Actually, I've seen that in other Nissan Rogues that I've driven in the past. Not sure what causes that, but kind of a weird thing. But it is easy to drive on a back road. It's not like super inspiring, but you can tell like where the car is going, where it's directing itself pretty well. Sometimes this car is pretty good at picking up off the line, which I like. The engine does kind of rev a lot, but you know, sometimes it gets up and goes pretty well. The CVT does keep the revs like in the heart of the engine's power band. I have good visibility too. I can see right over this front hood. I get a nice big windshield to look out of. These pillars are relatively thin, good sized mirrors and a clear view out of the back window, so really can't complain with the visibility. These seats are pretty comfortable. The leather feels nice and smooth. It's pretty easy to steer and maneuver this car. But I think I'll end the video here. Pretty sure I talked about everything with this Nissan Rogue. Very easy car to drive and live with every day. It's relatively pleasant to drive. I mean, it doesn't, like I said, doesn't really like sharp maneuvers and sharp corners, but it does decently. The steering is a little bit light and numb. That's kind of a complaint, and the engine can feel a little bit gutless. If you want something sportier, I'd check out the CX-5, but the Rogue is a pretty good package overall. Nice and smooth, nice and quiet. Definitely makes for a good daily commuter. But yeah, you guys, we're gonna hop out, shut the car off. All right, thanks for watching.